So ever since the beginning of time, or at least till January, there have been a list of players that people would come to me and they would ask, say, Vach, what do you think about this player to the Cowboys? And I simply thought that it was way too early in the draft evaluation process to ask me about certain players. Well, it's April and the draft is right around the corner. Thursday, so I think now is an appropriate time to give my thoughts on some players that could make it to the Cowboys. Just my opinion. Where would I like them to be drafted? But mostly I'm going to talk about the 17th overall pick. That's the one pick that I'm going to be talking about the most, because anything can happen second and third round, then in day 3. But it's the first round that brings the most controversy when we talk about these picks. So these are the picks I'm going to talk about. First of all, shouts out to the Cowboys, man. I haven't done a Cowboy video in a while, gang. But a handful of players that I'm not going to get real deep into. One, CeeDee Lamb. Everybody knows that I want him at 17. Now, will he be there? Who knows? The one thing I don't want to hear in my comment section and chat box, and I say this all the time, I don't want to hear y'all say who cannot make it to 17. The draft is its own weird entity to where anything can happen, right? There are plenty of examples of players that you thought wasn't going to be there that were there. You know what I mean? So I don't want to get into what ain't going to happen, but we can play possibility game. Now, can CeeDee Lamb not make it to 17? I don't want to say that, but will he make it to 17? Maybe not. I just don't want to hear people say what ain't going to happen. So guys like CeeDee Lamb, we're not going to talk about them. Javon Kinlaw, who can make it, but we're not going to talk about him. And Derrick Brown, another guy that I think could make it, but not there. I'm going to talk about guys that are kind of actually linked to the Cowboys in some kind of way, whether it be my opinion, whether it be some guys in the Cowboy Illuminati circle that may or may not send text messages. We're going to talk about some of those players and just a handful of guys that fans ask me about all the time. Cowboys fans ask me about all the time. And A.J. Terrell is one of them. A lot of this stuff comes with context to drafting at 17th overall. A.J. Terrell, if we draft him in the second round, I would be very happy with getting A.J. Terrell in the second round. Drafting him at 17, I wouldn't be the biggest fan of it in the world. Now, will I be upset like would you get a big rant video out of me? You know what I'm saying? You won't get one of those furniture flipping, screaming rants out of me. You won't get that from me. AJ Terrell is a solid player. I just think it's so many more good players that's on the board over him. Now, the guys that do it over in Dallas, they are the pros. I'm just a YouTuber, so you ain't got to take my word over nobody's word. But just based on my opinion, if we were to get AJ Terrell in the first round, 17th overall, I'd be pretty upset though. And Ruiz is another one, and you can hear in the Cowboy rumor circle or in the Illuminati of text messages or whatever that the Cowboys are interested in Cesar Ruiz, but I don't think that we're talking about him in a 17th overall kind of way. I think if you trade back into the second, if you trade to the back of the second round or something like that, maybe the third round pick, if he's there, then he would be considered. But there are some people that are saying, Vach, what about Cesar Ruiz at 17? Hell no. I don't think that's a good pick. I don't think that's legit. That ain't good. That ain't good drafting right there, getting Cesar Ruiz at 17. Now, if some other team wants to get him at the back of the first round, then be my guest. Do what you got to do. Say what you want to say, but Cesar Ruiz at 17 would make my back itch real bad. Moving on, Yetur Gross-Matos, and this recently just came out too, and just for the sake of anybody that may be listening with this question, I think just because Cowboys are interested in people, or Cowboys are interviewing people, they're doing due diligence, they're asking questions, I don't think that necessarily means that they're automatically considered with their 17th overall pick. Sure, the Cowboys ask Gross-Matos questions, but they ask like 80 other guys questions. So when this comes out in the news, I just don't need y'all running to my door. Yo, Vach, what do you think about the Cowboys taking Yetur Gross-Matos or Cesar Ruiz at 17? Well, they may not be candidates for 17. I would say that Gross-Matos may be a candidate for 28 if that happens, and Ruiz may be like a third round guy. I hope Terrell is considered to be a guy that we draft in the 50s somewhere, but In terms of 17, I wouldn't be very happy with either of these guys, but the names are linked, and it is a conversation in real life. Trevon Diggs, him at 17, I wouldn't be happy with it either, but I did hear his name being brought up in some of those conversations. I mean, he's another player just like Terrell, and to be fair, just like Yeater. I wouldn't flip a table in anger if we got Diggs at 17. I'll just be very, very disappointed. You know, I have a list of guys that I'm, that I feel good about the Cowboys taking at 17, and you can go find that video. I have a list of guys that I feel comfortable with, but I'm just not comfortable with Diggs and Terrell or Gross Matos at 17. You know, most of the names that the Cowboys been coming out with at 17, I'm not the biggest I'm not the biggest fan of it. A handful of names, sure, but I'm gonna talk a little bit more about that as the list goes on. Jalen Reagor is another guy that I think is a candidate more so in the 20s than the 17th overall pick, but we're kind of linked to him, and this is mostly just like Cowboy fan questions. Vach, what do you think about Jalen Reagor? I'd be cool with Jalen Reagor to come in and play slot receiver, whatever, but my problem is the Cowboys led the league last year in drops, and Jalen Reagor is a drop guy. He's a pretty notorious drop guy in terms of his film last year. So would I be super happy about it? I mean, yeah, he can do some athletic things for you. He can do some quick twitchy things. He can be your one of your faster yak guys, your jet sweep guy. He can do all that stuff for you. Come in and play slot, but not at 17. Not at 17. You want to have a conversation in the 50s? Let's talk about it. And all these guys that I've shown you so far are guys that I would feel way better about in the 50s, right? Strong safety, which is interesting because I heard Xavier McKinney's name kind of brought up in some funk here. It's interesting because Cowboys never really been high on safety, or at least box safety. And Xavier McKinney is exclusively a box safety, in my opinion. We've never really been high on those guys. So this is another player that I can see the Cowboys being interested in, but I just don't see it happening at 17. Just not in my personal opinion. And I know I sound negative because I got something angry to say about all these guys, but I got something angry to say about all these guys. The Cowboy rumors just haven't been very nice to me. They just haven't been very, very nice to me. I can give you a list of guys that I would be excited about. We could probably do that once I'm done talking about the guys on his list or whatever, but I don't know, man. Xavier McKinney. Now, look, to be fair, if Xavier McKinney ended up on my team at 17, I wouldn't be terribly upset about it because he is a good player. At the end of the day, don't get it twisted. Xavier McKinney is a good player. It's just that box safety and drafting those guys at 17 is just where it gets kind of weird for me. So that's where I would be more upset than anything, the fact that we got a box safety at 17 when we can get a box safety that does Xavier McKinney things. Hell, get him in the second round, get him in the third round. That's just where I'm at on that. But the two guys that I do feel the most solid about, I'll just go ahead and put this up there too. C.J. Henderson and Kayvon Chaisson. Now, C.J. Henderson, both of these guys go in the conversation of they could go before Dallas gets on the clock. Both those are candidates for could be gone by the time we get there. But they're also in the conversation of they could be right in play at 17. I feel real good about C.J. Henderson. I feel relatively good about Kayvon Chaisson in terms of young pass rusher. We're going to have to develop him, and what can he be if he reaches his ceiling. I think he could be a pretty damn good, fantastic pass rusher if he reaches his ceiling. It just kind of depends on whether he reaches his ceiling. And of course, C.J. Henderson, in my opinion, is the second best cornerback in the draft. If he falls to 17, of course, I'd be super happy about it. So that's kind of my list and how I feel about those guys. Now, people that I would feel really good about us drafting at 17, like real good. If Kinlaw is there, cool. If any of those top receivers are there, right? And that's in this order: CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson, Jerry Jeudy, Henry Ruggs, in that order. If any of those top receivers are there, let's do that. If any of those top offensive linemen are there, let's take one of those guys. C.J. Henderson is about the last cornerback that I feel really good about taking at 17. I like Fulton, and like I said, man, Terrell's cool. I like any of these corners. Gladney is cool, but give me those guys at 20. Chaison's like the last pass rush I would feel really, really good about. AJ Epinesa from Iowa is my second edge rusher. He's another guy that I would feel really good about the Cowboys getting. I feel good about Grant Delpit at 17, but everybody on this side of the list, these 6 small box guys, man, I wouldn't be too thrilled. Pardon me, I wouldn't be too thrilled about these guys at 17. But that's just that. It's just my opinion. Y'all ain't got to listen to my opinion. If you want to trust the Cowboys more than you trust me, I recommend you do that. Trust the pros more than you trust me. But what I will do is I will show you film. I will give you context, and I won't just pull stuff out of my ass. Like, I'm really gonna give you reasoning for why I feel a certain way. So, and I can show you the film, and you can tell me how you feel. But anyway, man, that's kind of my list. I ain't want to hold y'all too long, man. These are just names that I heard associated with Cowboys. I just heard them from different little mediums or whatever, and I just wanted to give my thoughts quickly because I get asked a bunch. So y'all hold it down for the Doski Woski and the Peasky Whiskey, man. We're going to be doing a live draft reaction show on Thursday for day 1 and day 2. So that's Thursday and Friday. Come to my channel. We're going to be doing a live draft thing. So you'll get my reactions, you'll get my analysis, you'll get all that good stuff. The phone line is going to be lit. We can get your reactions, we can get your reactions as well. And that's how we're going to run it, man. Y'all hold it down, man. Peace.